Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our NXT review. And I gotta say, if I'm being honest, I actually enjoyed this episode of NXT more than I did last week's episode. I thought the matches they had on here were great. I thought we got a few things, in some post-match segments that were very interesting. We got a vignette for a new act. This is actually the second week. We didn't talk about this act last week. But, it seems like they're a tag team, so we got some new blood in the tag division. And yeah, I think this NXT for me checked a lot of boxes, so I quite enjoyed it, even if it was predictable in some routes. What do you think about it, Ashton?
Yeah, honestly, we're definitely going at this from two different perspectives. Because to me, I thought it was almost astonishing that we had two big number one contender matches on this show, and yet I really didn't care about either one. And to me, the match of the night ended up being the in-between match that wasn't really for anything in particular.
Yeah, that match was really good. I personally enjoyed all three matches. Again, I agree with you about, because I'm assuming you mean Ember Moon versus Ruby Riott, and of course Drew McIntyre versus Killian Dane and their predictability. But you know what? I think this is a case where even if it is predictable, I could still enjoy the journey. And I felt like those two matches did give me a worthwhile journey. And I am curious about some other things NXT's got going on. They even announced a big match for next week that I'm really looking forward to. So yeah, I actually was able to have fun with this, all things considered. But with that said, do you have any other preliminary remarks you want to make about this show before we're really
man. I don't think so. Honestly, we've got some things that we definitely need to talk about, and then I'm going to look forward to talking about. But match-wise, we can just kind of blow through those.
Absolutely. So let's get right into our first segment then. Heat of the night. I'm just going to tell you, I don't have anything. Do you have anything?
No.
All right, then let us get right into our NXT review. And after we get beyond all the formalities, we open up with Ruby Riott versus Ember Moon. Crowd was definitely super into this match. I thought this was one of Ember Moon's best matches. In fact, I'll even go as far as say I think this has been her best match since being on NXT. For my money, I really enjoyed it.
I won't necessarily disagree with you. This was a really solid match. It's just another one of those cases where I couldn't get really into it because I feel like I knew who was going to win. And if I would have allowed myself to be invested, I would have been rooting for the person that I felt like I knew was losing. So it was
right
for me to allow myself to get invested. And that kind of killed my enjoyment of the match as a whole.
Which is certainly understandable. Like you said, we're just going to breeze through these. Great back and forth, but ultimately Total Eclipse does claim Ruby Riott. I love that they allow her to, go out and really show her stuff. However, it'll be nice when she can really rebuild, get her own story to the NXT Women's Championship.
Honestly, I'm kind of disappointed that Ruby Riott wasn't in the Mae Young Classic. I feel like she showed up on NXT television maybe 6 months too early, because if they would have just held out on her, she might not have had a couple Brooklyn matches, but then a couple takeover live special matches, but then she would have probably gotten a better build, because as it is, she just showed up randomly one time, got added to a mixed tag team match at a takeover, and has been kind of in the background of the women's title picture for really the entire time since. So I just kind of wish that she would get more of an individual spotlight, because really I feel like the best really spotlight that we've seen put on her wasn't even on NXT television. It was that initial interview that they had of her after her debut, where she talked about how, when we win, we riot. That whole thing was the best thing that they've actually allowed her to do. And everything since then has felt either not enough or overly scripted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I will certainly agree with you there. Whatever disagreements you and I may have about our enjoyment of the show, I think the finer points of the product and the talent that comprise the product, you and I are definitely on the same page. because, I mean, this match really reminded me, and you know what an Ember Moon fan I am, and I definitely think this match, you know, helped her in my eyes. I still wish Ember Moon was better at promos, but, you know, still holding out hope that, you know, one day that'll come. But Ruby Riott, to me, really is the full package, because you mentioned that promo, and that clearly illustrates that she can talk. And you see matches like this, and they clearly illustrate that she can work. So, you know, she really does check off every box. And I wholeheartedly agree with you that you look at somebody like Ruby Riott and what she brings to the table. I think she was tailor-made for a forum like the Mae Young Classic. So it's kind of disappointing that she just came into the company too early. That said, honestly, dude, what I would hope for, because the business never seemed really settled to me. I mean, maybe it was because I think Nikki Cross in one of those triple threat matches like eliminated Ruby Riott, but maybe they can pick that feud up again because Nikki Cross lost her last woman standing match. Ruby's kind of adrift right now. I think you make those two meet in the middle again, maybe have like a few interactions on TV and one big takeover match, and you can kind of reset both of them and put them both in a great spot because, yeah, I don't want Ruby left out in the cold. Not after a match like this. It's just a lot like with some of the male talents, right, that we're so into. There's a line, and not only are they at the back of the line, but I feel like really talented people like Ruby are seen as almost credible fodder to feed for the people that are more priority. Like, oh, Ember will look really good beating somebody like Ruby Riott rather than this really being about Ruby's development, which, you know, I think is unfair to a certain level because she's so talented. But yeah, great match. Ember gets the win. Unless you have anything else to say, we can move on.
All right, man. Let's go ahead. Let's move on. Up next, we had a confrontation. Hideo getting all up in Cassius Ohno's face. I think it was regarding, I guess Ono went to Regal and asked for a match with Hideo, and Hideo is pissed about that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess because Hideo even says, like, oh, you asked for the match because we know that's happening next week, Cassius versus Hideo. And then Cassius said, yes, I did. I did say I was going to take action. This is me taking action. Then Hideo speaks in Japanese. He kicks a trash can. Lid pops off. And yeah, that's that. He walks off. So, I mean, yeah, clearly Hideo's playing up the heel. I mean, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. When we get this match, we get this match. I just thought it really seemed like it was heading for TakeOver Brooklyn. But, you know, that's obviously not the case. Should be a very fun contest regardless, though. I think that should be the main event next week. You give these guys like 15 minutes, they're going to blow the fucking roof off the place. So I am excited about that. And it was a very simple segment just to drive home the point that this match is happening and both guys are in completely different headspaces for it. So I've got nothing else to say besides that.
Yeah, I was going to say, honestly, I wouldn't even bank on them having a match at TakeOver given that they're going to get their match next week. Like, I don't think NXT has really shown a tendency to put on a big-time built-up-to match on NXT TV and then do a rematch on the TakeOver special. So
right.
we'll probably get either these guys in some kind of a tag match against each other involving other people in tag teams, or just going against different people entirely somehow or another.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you as far as the plans of these guys. So I can't wait for the match next week. Should be a lot of fun, but I got nothing else to say than that, so we can move on.
All right. So then we had a sort of really interesting vignette. And I didn't even see this last week, but apparently there was another one of these last week that I just must have completely missed.
Yeah, bro, I apologize because there was one last week, and I just completely had a brain fart, I guess, even like broaching this subject. But that's why I really wanted to make it a finer point to bring it up this week.
Dude,
there was one last week.
Yeah, Street Profits. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I am really excited for these guys.
I'm so happy you said that because honestly, I'm still kind of in the middle because here's my thing, right? To do one of my infamous compliment sandwiches, I love the name Street Profits and like the way it's spelled. Do you think these guys are heels in your mind? Because they give off a heel vibe to me in a way.
Yeah, I would say, you know, it's actually really fitting that you're asking me that question because all I can think of seeing these guys and this vignette and the packaging and knowing the exact situations of the individuals in the tag team, all I can think of is American Alpha 2.0, honestly.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because, I mean, really, is there anybody in NXT right now that reminds you more of Jason Jordan than Angelo Dawkins, honestly?
Oh, I'm going to be honest with you. This is how terrible I am. I didn't even register that one of the guys was Angelo Dawkins. I just thought these were two fresh faces, period. So the one's Angelo Dawkins. Who's the other guy then?
The other guy is, this is going to be interesting. The other guy's actually Montez Ford, formerly known as, I want to say Kenneth Crawford was his former name.
I vaguely remember Kenneth Crawford. Yeah.
So the thing about Montez Ford now is his name. The thing about him is he is very new to wrestling. He's only been wrestling for, I think it's like 2 years now. But we've seen a match between him and Steve Cutler on NXT TV before. And Steve Cutler actually won. So that gives you an idea of just how low on the totem pole Montez was at the time. Because really, Steve Cutler is one of the job guys that has kind of grown to be known for putting other people over in NXT. But Montez, in that match, there were multiple instances where he showed off a level of athleticism that I can only describe as Rich Swann-esque.
What, dude? You know what? I can't tell you the smile I have right now, because even when they had the vignette last week, right? Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit put off in the sense of, oh God, is this like another stereotype type thing? And I still have slight reservations about that. But you know what? You giving like your excitement is bolstering me up, and I'm like, okay, let's see what these guys
because
do.
Again, like I actually did a little bit of research and I looked into these guys, and it's funny because to me, like you could tell just from the vignette that we got that Montez Ford is absolutely natural on the mic. Like his brief little talking into the camera that we got in this vignette instantly told me that this guy has the charisma to carry this team on the mic. Angelo Dawkins is a solid, like, I think he's like 6'6", 6'5", 280 pounds, freaky kind of athlete, former amateur wrestler. He went to Harper College where he was a football player, a track star, and an amateur wrestler. Like, this is the kind of dude that Jim Ross would love, but we've already seen him multiple times, and I don't know for sure if the personality is there for him, but it doesn't really matter because Montez Ford has enough personality, I think, to make up for it. And Montez Ford is also bringing that crazy athleticism that I was talking about. Because like the match with Steve Cutler, he did a standing moonsault, and it looked effortless. And there was also another spot that did get kind of botched, but it's a spot that I'm sure he's done multiple times in the past successfully, where it was an attempted back body drop and he did a full front flip and landed on his feet.
First of all, I'm so happy we're having this kind of discussion about this man, because I was just not expecting this at all. So this is definitely a pleasant surprise. But can I say, though, just on a more general point, how happy I am for fucking Angelo Dawkins.
Yeah.
That he's getting something. Because, dude, I did a quick search, right? Because I very rarely go balls deep in research like you do, only if I'm really invested in a person, i.e. Ember Moon. But looking up Angelo Dawkins, he's currently 26. His birthday's in 5 days, July 24th. So he's only going to be 27 years old. And I feel like he's
and that
really
was actually another
point
that I wanted to bring up, because Chad Gable is about 3 years older than Jason Jordan. Chad Gable's about 31. Jason Jordan is only about 28. And it's the exact same, well, not the exact same, but it's a similar distribution of age in this team. Montez Ford is about a year older than Angelo Dawkins, too. So Montez Ford, not as much older as Angelo Dawkins, as Chad Gable is older than Jason Jordan, but still, Montez Ford has been in wrestling for a significantly less time than Angelo Dawkins, because really Angelo Dawkins, he's been around for like 5 years now, whereas Montez has been around for closer to 2 years. So he really is newer to the business. But when Chad Gable made his big debut in NXT, he debuted in 2014. Like, he literally signed a contract to WWE in November of 2013, and we were seeing him on NXT TV as early as 2015. So it was really just barely a year later that he was on TV. He made that quick of a transition, and Montez Ford is in a similar spot where he signed in 2015, and we saw him in a match with, I believe it was the Steve Cutler match in 2016. So, and now a year after his on-screen debut, which is similar to Chad Gable going from on-screen debut to American Alpha, he's getting into a big-time tag team with an amateur wrestler. So, like, there are just a lot of similarities between the Street Profits team and American Alpha, where I think if you would basically take American Alpha and isolate Chad Gable and swap his technical wrestling ability for athleticism and charisma on the mic, you would basically have Montez Ford.
I just gotta say, and forgive me, guys, for any hyperbole I may be about to make or whatever, but I can't stop smiling given that you just imparted all this knowledge to me, because I'm apparently a fucking idiot. But
no, you're not an idiot. I just, like, the thing is, like, the Street Profits, because it's always interesting to me when the WWE decides to stick one charismatic dude that can talk with an athletic dude that we know can.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much what they did here, because Montez, we saw him talk, and I was impressed by it. I feel like he has a very natural charisma, and he kind of has it on the mic. And we've seen Angelo Dawkins countless times in NXT before. Very similar situation to what Jason Jordan was doing prior to American Alpha, in that he's tried different gimmicks. He's been in tag teams with different people, and he just can't seem to find something that works. So really, I'm always intrigued by that, and that caused me to look into Montez Ford and see what he could do. And other promos, so I'm hoping that the little sampling we got in this vignette tonight is enough that, yeah, like, he is that good on the mic. But I did find the match with Steve Cutler, and it was impressive from an athletic standpoint. Like, this is the kind of dude that can jump from inside the apron, over the ropes, and into the ring effortlessly. It's not a common trait that people have that kind of athleticism, and this dude exhibits it. So again, really exciting to me.
Well, yeah, and the 2 points I wanted to make, the one more broad, the other one more of a finer point, and then I guess we can move on, because I really don't know what else I would say, because we're only still working with vignettes. This is why I love NXT. I will be the first one to step up and say there have been times I've been besieged by a kind of cynicism, because, oh my God, it's a who's who anymore. Like, all these guys are established. Like, I really do. I love that period of NXT where it was about the Bows, the Biggies, and all them. And yet when I see an Angelo Dawkins, a guy that if he was on the main roster going through this, I guarantee you probably would have hit the dustbin. And I'm really curious if him or Montez, or maybe both of them together, went to NXT creative with this, if, like, Angelo Dawkins gave himself CPR career-wise or what, because the idea that he has this now, and this leads into my second point, please, if they're worth it, I'm hoping they're not duds, and I don't think they will be, because especially after you taught him up and we know enough about Angelo Dawkins, and you've educated me on this Montez guy, I don't think they will, but please let them have a great showing in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. You kept bringing that up, and I'm thinking that
brings me back to American Alpha, because you got to remember year one of American Alpha, when they were in the Dusty Classic, they did have a great showing, and I believe they made it to the semifinals, only to lose to the team of Corbin and Rhino.
Yeah, they made it all the way to the semis, and honestly, if you wanted to give the same kind of rub to the Street Profits, let these people, like, get to know them, really. And, like, I would love, because I've been curious about this for a long time, but it's been apparently so long since I've seen Angelo Dawkins, I forgot what he looked like. I'd love to see his full skill set on display in a major forum like a tournament where they actually advance and maybe get to a match as big as the semifinals. So yeah, I think the timing's too perfect that you've got these vignettes right when the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic is right around the corner. And it amazes me that we go from not even talking about these guys last week because the vignette, we just both had brain farts, to now this week being so excited just for different reasons. You because of the knowledge, and me because, like, this is why I love NXT. The idea that Angelo Dawkins or somebody gave this kid mouth to mouth, and now he's got a chance to really do something finally. And it's not even like so much time's running on the clock, because, again, he's going to be 20 – did I say 27 or 28? He's going to be 27 in 5 days. Like, plenty of time on that clock. I am now, if I was at like a 2 before for this, because I wasn't sure, now my excitement's like at that 8 to 9 range. I'm really curious what these guys can do together.
Oh, yeah, and by the way, worth noting, Montez Ford was a Marine. He was in the U.S. Marine Corps for 4 years.
Well, hot damn, let's do it, because I'll tell you what, man. TM61's got to be getting ready within the next few months, I would think, for a return. AOP, I mean, I don't loathe them. They're doing their job well, but I am just so thankful for some fresh goddamn blood.
Well, yeah, and plus, it seems like, and this is also kind of a transition, since it seems like we're kind of done talking about this. our next match, Oni Lorcan versus Danny Burch, might be setting up for them joining together, forming another tag team for the Dusty Classic. And this is the time, because remember, the Dusty Classic takes place usually in like September, October. Now's the time that they've got to start building up the tag team division, because there is nothing left. It is the Authors of Pain, Insanity, and that's it. There's just no one left. There was Gargano and Ciampa, but they broke up. Everyone else has been called up or split up somehow. It is AOP, Insanity, and nothing else. And obviously, yeah, TM61 should be back in time for the Dusty Classic. I hope they are, at least. But right now, like, it's just, the cupboards are just so barren. It's almost embarrassing, honestly.
And it's not like I have bragging rights or anything, because so much time has elapsed and whatever. And you know, we know that rule of if a certain amount of time elapsed, you can't really say that you called it. But it is funny to me.
The old rule of prognostications: if you're early, you're still wrong.
Yeah, but I will say this. The Brian rights or whatever aside, it is funny you mentioned the Tag Team Classic in this segment of Oni Lorcan versus Danny Burch, because I said I wanted these guys as a tag team a long time ago. I don't know if anybody... I did. I was even getting ready to ask, I don't know if anybody remembers that, but I said, because I have been kind of a low-key fan of Danny Burch for a while. I just like the way the guy works. And I said, you know what? With him and Biff Busick, who of course is now Oni Lorcan, I'm like, you put those two together with the way they look, that's a team that I could buy in their styles. And seeing them work together, I thought it was a very fun match. I gotta say too, while I'm being positive about NXT, and again, I'm not besieged by the cynicism of a guy like Rude being champion and whatever, appreciate this slow burning kind of build of Oni Lorcan, because his profile is steadily rising, but he's still, at least in my opinion, not a significant blip on any kind of radar. But like he is slowly making that ascent. I think he's going to be one of those acts that maybe by next year is like a larger part of conversations, like, oh, who's going to challenge for the belt next, or who's going to be that guy next. You know, I think it's a great story being told here of this guy just having matches right now, winning if he can. If he loses, he bounces back. And I would not be surprised at all if like by next year sometime, maybe even around this time, he would have a bigger profile. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this match. Hell, I think you even said this was your match of the night. So brother, please give your thoughts.
I mean, yeah, it was just a stiff, physical, just beat the hell out of each other kind of match. And it felt like it wouldn't have been out of place in New Japan, you know?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that style that Lorcan works is really getting over with people. I feel like the series of matches he had with Hideo, even though he lost both, did great things for both guys. And again, I want to keep the focus on Lorcan here. Danny Burch, again, I've always kind of low-key been a fan of. You know, never made a big stink about it or anything, but I appreciate his work. And if these guys would be a random team in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, hell, you can either have them lose in the first round and just that be that, or you can turn this into a story, because Lorcan, which kind of surprised me, to be honest, it was kind of a weird finish, but he does win by submission with a single-leg Boston Crab. Can't remember the last time anybody's won a match with a single-leg Boston Crab, but leading to Oni Lorcan. And as Danny Burch and him are shaking hands, Danny Burch is like, oh, one more time, you and me, one more time. Well, if Lorcan beats him again, maybe that would allow Danny Burch to turn heel. I don't know. You know, it's like maybe we'll turn a story into this, maybe we won't, but I do definitely agree with your earlier sentiment. Like, it's time to turn the page. It's the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic coming up. We got to start revitalizing our assets, you know, the tag team division in particular, and really utilizing some acts in different, more creative aspects. I think that's a great idea. This was a really fun match, and I'd be curious to see what these two guys could do as a team.
Absolutely, yeah. I
sure.
completely agree. All right, man. Well, I think I don't think we have any like backstage segments or anything like that left. So it's just this match and then another match and then our main event, and that's NXT.
All right, so what are we talking about next, partner?
No Way Jose versus Cesar Bononi.
I really have nothing to say about this dude. Like, Cesar got some offense in, but Jose ultimately ends up winning with his wind-up knockout punch. I was more interested in the post-match for obvious reasons.
That's the interesting thing, though, because, you know, Cesar Bononi isn't exactly somebody that's really been built up with credibility in NXT so far, but they aren't doing nothing with him, which is nice to see, because he is a big guy. He's got a great build. He's got that Jinder Mahal build, kind of. But he's Brazilian. And again, similar to Mahal himself, Brazil is a gigantic, superbly loyal fan base. Honestly, Brazil kind of reminds me of the Philippines in that if they have somebody in the U.S. media that really catches on and kind of catches a little bit of popularity, they will fully support that person to the ends of the earth. And Cesar Bononi is an example of that because, I mean, this guy has a lot of support from Brazilian fans. There was actually, I mean, just as an example of how loyal Brazilian fans are, there was a poll recently on WWE.com regarding the Mae Young Classic and who people want to win and stuff, or who people wanted to see face Asuka, I think the question was. And Tainara Conti, who is a competitor in the Mae Young Classic, ended up winning the poll, and she's the only Brazilian competitor, is kind of the point I'm making here. She ended up winning the poll. She had over 4 times the votes as Kairi Sane, who is easily the most popular performer. Yeah, so Brazilian fans are insanely loyal, and Cesar Bononi, this basically Brazilian Jinder Mahal, as far as I'm concerned, because he's big, he's got the look, he's only been wrestling for 3 years, so he's still relatively green, but you've got that marketable look, you've got that audience that gets behind him. He might end up doing more than people expect.
Oh, well, after you telling me that, now I'm thinking, well, how far do they want to take him? Because that's really all it comes down to at that point. Yeah. Gotta say, never knew that about Brazil, but they have my respect for that in a degree. Like, to know that they could really solidify around somebody and really rally. Like, we always talk about American exceptionalism. We never do that kind of shit. So, you know what, Brazil, I see you, man. Good for you. But, yeah, I like this, though, Ashton, like, in terms of the post-match, because, again, Cesar, he got a little bit of offense, but Jose ultimately wins. But after the match, and I love that because, first of all, Thea kind of sicks Andrade on Cesar. Yep. And what I like about that is Cesar was Andrade's low point. Let's not forget that Cesar did beat Andrade in a match. I think it was after that loss, that like a week or two after, we see Thea, she confronts Andrade, and that's where she slaps him. So in a way, you could kind of tie it all back to, yes, Cesar losing to him was when Andrade hit rock bottom. So by beating down Cesar in a metaphorical sense, it's like Andrade slowly making the ascent out of rock bottom. And so personally, I liked it. Maybe I looked too much into it, but connecting all the plot threads, I'm like, no, it works. And then No Way Jose's like, oh, come on, man, what are you doing? And then Andrade like challenges him to come in. So how many weeks do we have until Brooklyn, Ashton?
Too many. I think it's 4 or 5.
Even assuming that it's the lower end and it's 4, I could see that the week after we get Cash Zona versus Hideo, maybe the next kind of semi-big match is No Way Jose versus Andrade, but with Thea Trinidad at ringside.
Yeah, it is 4. We have 4 episodes of NXT TV left, and then after the August 16th episode, 3 days after that, on the 19th, is when Brooklyn 3 is.
All right, then I'm calling my shot right now. In 2 weeks, from this episode to, again, after Cassius and Hideo, the episode after that, I think we are going to get Andrade versus No Way Jose. And I think that'll be Andrade's first win, kind of building himself back up with Thea in his corner. And look, dude, you and everybody, I don't have to give a history lesson on what a huge fan of Almas I am. The guy ranked huge in our inaugural 5 Fave Vi video in the NXT section and in the top 10 overall. I fucking adore this dude. So the idea that like he's really starting to make that ascent again, I'm really excited. I don't know what kind of a heel he'll be with Thea at his side, like how far he'll go, but I'm just excited to see him compete again and do what he does because I think he's one of the most talented guys.
Would you say that Almas is your NXT Johnny Mundo?
You know what? I think I even said as much in our inaugural Fave 5 because I think he came in at number 2 behind Mundo, which was huge. So, like, yeah, I think for all intents and purposes, he's the closest thing to, like, WWE's version of Johnny Mundo since they lost the genuine article that they have. Because I just think whenever he comes on, like, I adore Seth, I adore Joe, I adore Strowman, no doubt. But I think Andrade, because I don't get to see him compete as much when I do, especially in a takeover setting, he is just so fucking good. so good. And like, I just look at it and I'm like, you deserve everything. And so I'm really, really excited for this dude. I'm really happy for him. And it's, for me, even if it only lasts tonight in this review and I go back to being a fucking sourpuss next week, it's just nice to be positive about the talents on NXT that I'm like, this is what this show is about. The Andrades, Street Profits, people like that. Because it's just so good. So, yeah, I enjoyed this. I think him and Jose could have a really fun match. And by the way, just so I don't sweep him under the rug, good for Jose getting back on TV and getting fucking wins.
Right? I feel like it's been way too long since we've seen Noah Jose on TV.
You're goddamn right it has. And I haven't even been an outspoken No Way Jose Mark. I feel like you've always been the bigger fan of him between the two of us. But like, what's right is right. And the kid's freaking talented, and you don't bench him. Now, I think he was dealing with an injury, if I'm not mistaken. But if he's healthy, you get him storylines, you get him everything. Because this guy is still every bit the asset I think you and I, and again, especially you, because you gave a great rundown when he first debuted, built him up to be. And it's just great to see him back on TV where he belongs. So I'm happy for everybody. Good for No Way Jose.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Well, I guess we can move on and get into our main event tonight. Drew McIntyre versus Killian Dane for #1 contendership. Who's facing Bobby Roode at TakeOver Brooklyn 3? And at the end of the day, while Killian Dane was portrayed as a true blue monster in this match, kicking out of both the Future Shock DDT at 1 and getting his shoulders up instantly pretty much after a Claymore kick, Drew McIntyre with the second Claymore kick does end up pulling out the win here and will be facing Bobby Roode for the NXT Championship at TakeOver Brooklyn 3.
You know that I enjoyed an episode of NXT where even something like this, where I've been kind of writhing and resisting the inevitable, because again, I have nothing against Drew McIntyre. I think that prospect, it just doesn't seem like a good fit, but I knew it was coming. I still managed to enjoy this match because goddamn was this Killian Dane's coming out party. Like, I mean, the sequence where he does kind of a wasteland into a senton, into a Vader bomb, fucking great. And then to your point, because you took the words right out of my mouth, they made this guy look like such a fucking monster. Immediately kicks out of the Future Shock, and credit to Drew too, because it takes two to tango. Drew could have just been like a tough guy being like, oh, well, nobody, I guess I'm going to put him down. Drew actually took the time to make the face, like his bowels just crawled up into his throat. And like, what the fuck am I going to have to do to put this monster down? And 2 Claymore kicks. The second one that Killian Dane egged on. Like, oh, come on, Drew, hit me with it. Hit me with it. And like, it's great. It may have been predictable as fuck. We may all know where this car is going, but goddamn, NXT again with talents that I could get excited about. You protected Killian Dane. You made him seem like a huge fucking deal. He died on his sword. You know, his undefeated streak's now over, but what a freaking way to go out. And yeah, honestly, I don't even give a fuck about the undefeated streak anymore, because now what's on my mind is, oh my God, he ate all that offense from the guy right now that's being made as this huge deal. What kind of hope does anybody else have? That is huge coming away with that. So yeah, I really enjoyed this, if for no other reason, the protection, the time in the spotlight it gave to Killian Dane, because now I feel like his profile has been raised considerably after this. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, the way that they protected Dane is definitely the highlight of this match. He looked like a monster for sure, but like I said, man, at the end of the day, Drew McIntyre came out on top, still undefeated. What do we think about that going into Brooklyn 3?
Oh, God. You know, again, dude, I love everything about Drew. Still, God, I still can't totally buy the face stuff, and you know that. And again, this isn't like me trying to have a Johnny Scumbag moment. It's just when you look like him and you carry yourself like he does, it's like, why should I like you when you're just everything that I could ever hope to be but will never achieve? Like, that's the vibe I get. That said, they have had their hearts set on doing this match, and honestly, Brandon bringing up Aleister Black. We've already brought up Aleister Black multiple times. I'm not even going to touch that. Obviously, I feel like this should be his spot. But maybe they'll do the best they can with it. And to me, I'm going to be honest with you that I think one of my problems, and again, this isn't necessarily on NXT. This is more on me. Story, and I see what he really wants. And I just want to see this guy on a SmackDown Live competing for the WWE title, but he couldn't right away because it's being held by a heel. But you get my point. Like, I'd rather him be on the main roster again and just having the story be, I still am the chosen one, and myself to figure that out. Now I'm ready to take what's always been mine. Where's the seat warmer at? And then, he guns for the champion. To me, I just feel like it's almost kind of a masturbation of sorts having him here, if I'm being honest. Like, I really don't see the point. And I think you could say that about so many acts, but I think with Drew, it just rubs me the wrong way more than others. And they're going to do the best they can. But honestly, I can't drum up much caring about the whole situation. I mean, how do you feel? Since you broached the question to me, I'm going to pose it back to you, man.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat as you, man. I feel like this needs to be, at the end of the day, I've been saying it for weeks now. The guy that takes the NXT World Title off of Bobby Roode needs to be either Aleister Black or Johnny Gargano. One of those two guys. I guess I could accept it being Roderick Strong, but I would have preferred that being at a takeover when he still had all of his momentum rather than being built up to this great TV match and losing all of his momentum there. But I think he's like number 3 in my pecking order for who I would accept as the sort of next line, like the guy to take all that heat and turn it into positive babyface momentum, taking the heat from Bobby Roode. So, yeah, like my number 1 is probably Gargano because I want Gargano Ciampa to be an absolute barn burner next year. My number 2 is Aleister Black because really it just kind of feels right for him. And then, yeah, Roddy would be my number 3. But Drew, I don't even know for sure if Drew would even be my number 4, to be perfectly honest. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's just such a weird place because, again, he is so talented. It just, none of this feels right to me. And it hasn't from day one. So it's not like I'm changing my tune all of a sudden. You and I have both been very firm and very staunch in saying this. Now, could I look back on this after Brooklyn and say, you know what? That was a hell of a match. Drew will make a great champion. Yeah, and if anybody would come at me and say, oh, well, you know whatever, when you're saying all this, I will eat all that crow. Believe me, I've done it a million times. It's an acquired taste. But as of right now, I can't see it. I don't feel it. I agree with you completely about it being strong, but the idea that it was a TV match and not a takeover when the build was just screaming takeover, and see, this is where that cynicism that I've been mentioning, like, oh, I'm not feeling it with this act or Street Profits or this one. This is where I do feel it. Because your NXT champion, if I'm not mistaken, Roode's 40 years old, right? And I'm not against 40-year-olds. AJ's in that range, and he's still wrestling out of his goddamn mind. Get Roode on the fucking main roster and give him something. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of tired of Roode's run. Maybe I'd like him more on the main roster, or maybe I just don't like him anymore at all, which is another very real possibility. I look at McIntyre as a contender, and I'm like, I really just want to see him go all the way this time and be WWE champion like I thought he would be on his first run. Like, I don't know. This is where my cynicism comes in because I see other guys and I'm just like, when are they going to get their chance? And I'm not even sure if some of them ever will, like a No Way Jose, for instance. But, it is what it is. We'll see what they do for Brooklyn. Like you said, we got 4 weeks. A lot can happen in 4 weeks because NXT is still, again, next week we're getting Hideo versus Cash Sono, for fuck's sake. And neither one of them are on the Brooklyn card yet. In fact, the Brooklyn card is still, in my mind, largely unformed. So,
yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean, we already know we've got Drew versus Bobby, and now we already know that we've got Ember versus Asuka, but
was that officially a number 1 contenders match, or do you think Regal's just going to have a segment later where he's like, oh, because you beat Ruby Riott?
I was going to say, it might not have been sanctioned by William Regal, but Ember and Ruby pretty much agreed that, like, yeah, whoever wins this match gets a shot at Asuka. So
right. Yeah, I can agree with you there. So you figure that's 2 title matches. But the point I'm trying to make is you've got 2 guys like this in Hideo and Cassius who are higher profile competitors within the NXT roster. They're facing each other next week, and neither one of them have plans for Brooklyn yet. So, like, that just shows you a lot can happen in 4 weeks. So
That
we'll see how
shows me that NXT should make an effort to never have a 13-week build for a TakeOver Live special ever again.
Yeah.
Because it's like they try way too hard to have like a big blow off, and in this case they got the blow off wrong, because they should have waited and had the blow off that they had between live specials at the live special in Strong Rude.
Yeah, it's
And
it's
not to
just
mention they're doing all these title matches, which is nice, but because of the context that all of these title matches have been in, we've known who was winning them before they even happened. Like, there was no question that AOP was going to beat Sanity, or not Sanity, the Heavy Machinery. There was
right.
question that, Asuka has had, like, I think 2 title defenses since the last takeover, and there's never been any kind of question that she was going to retain. Bobby versus Roddy was the closest thing that we really had to a question mark. And the fact that Bobby won, to me, is like, okay, well, let's just move on now. And that gives me even less reason to believe that we're going to get it. And you know what? That's another thing, too, is that, like, there have been title matches on TV, but when was the last time we had a title change on NXT television? Because
I couldn't even tell you, dude. It feels
honestly,
like a long-ass time.
I know this might be going back too far, but I want to actually say that it was the Lucha Dragons and Blake and Murphy a couple years ago.
I think you're right, dude. I honestly can't remember, because I feel like NXT now, for those big moments, they are just #1 contenders matches, not title matches.
And title changes, it's ironic because title changes nowadays only ever happen at either live specials or, apparently because of Joe Balor, live events.
Yeah.
An NXT championship has changed hands on a house show more recently than one has changed on NXT TV.
That's incredulous to think about when you put it that way. But
really
yeah,
is.
dude.
Like, even on like WWE main roster, we don't really have that much of a problem with that. Because, I mean, didn't oh god, who was? Yeah, Kevin Owens. Didn't Kevin? No, that was a retention. I don't even remember, but I know for a fact that there's been at least one title change on WWE television more recently, like within the last 6 months.
Yeah, you're probably thinking of when Kevin Owens beat Chris Jericho on that one episode of SmackDown Live after the Raw pay-per-view.
That was a title change then. For some reason, I had it in my head that into the match with the title too, but it was a title change. And yeah, that was like 2 months ago, 3 months ago. So yeah, that's just another example. And didn't Miz beat Ambrose for the title on TV, or was that a pay-per-view match as well?
That, I believe, was a pay-per-view match. Yeah, that was Extreme Rules, because that was the whole, like, Ambrose can't get disqualified, but it didn't even go down that way.
I'm thinking this past year, Miz beating Ziggler for the Intercontinental title. That was on TV.
Right. And Draven saying in chat, apparently the Revival beat the Vaudevillains with the tag titles. I do remember that episode of NXT, and yeah, he's right. He's right. That was a tag title match on NXT TV.
So
it was right
almost a calendar year ago.
Yeah. Whew. Oh, man.
Wow. All right.
Well, yeah, let's move on to our next segment, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
High spots and low shots. My low shot is Killian Dane. I mean, yeah, he looked like a beast, but it was all about getting into the NXT championship. He won't be vying for it, and he lost his undefeated streak to boot, so he took 2 losses in a way. Lost out on the main event at Brooklyn and lost his undefeated streak, so Killian Dane is my low shot.
Makes sense to me, yeah. Killian Dane, he might have been protected well in loss, but that loss was still a devastating one. So, you know what? My low shot's going to have to be Cesar Bononi, because even though he has a lot of crowd support, and specifically a lot of support from his fellow countrymen, he did lose pretty badly to No Way Jose, and then even after the match was over, you had Andrade Almas coming down and beating him down even more. So kind of a twofer there on Caesar.
Yeah, absolutely, completely agree. Moving right along. You know what? Because I'm in such a good mood thinking about the reasons why I love NXT, I'm going to say that my high spot is Oni Lorcan.
Nice.
Because, you know, he won tonight, and like I said, I think he has one of the better stories in NXT right now, where he's just he's simmering right now. He's under the radar. You know, he's becoming a bigger and bigger blip with, you know, each win. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised. Now, I'm not going to make any hyperbolic claims like, oh, he'll be NXT champion, this and that. But I wouldn't be surprised if by next year, he at least got a shot at the NXT championship. I really think they're building him on that trajectory slowly, but I think they're doing it. So, yeah, Oney Lorcan for my high spot for sure.
Yeah, that's fair for sure. Yeah, I love Lorcan. I've been a big fan of him for a while. I remember he got a random SmackDown match, and I was really excited. I was like, oh, man, this is so cool when you Lorcan on SmackDown. And I got like 3 tweets instantly talking about, why do you care? This dude's a jobber. And I was just like, wow, you guys have no clue, do you?
Marks.
And it's funny, too, because if I remember correctly, one of the people that tweeted me was Paul. Like, what the hell, man?
Yeah, what the hell, Paul? He's asleep right now. I'll probably hear this tomorrow morning and he'll answer for himself. But
I was gonna say it's almost 6 o'clock in the morning where he lives. So
well, we hope you're sleeping well,
or no,
Paul.
it's almost 5 o'clock in the morning where he lives. But anyway, it doesn't.
Yeah.
High spot. I mean, is there really a better option here than Drew McIntyre, considering he's challenging Bobby? He really didn't have to really work for it that hard. I mean, he had to work for it tonight specifically by beating Killian Dane, but who has he beaten on his way to earning this championship, #1 contendership opportunity?
You know what's amazing is you and I have been talking about that exact point so much. It would be incredible to me if it was revealed that, like, the Chosen One gimmick never really ended, and Vince has been pulling the strings the whole time. Like, hey, give Drew the weakest opponents possible. I want him to be NXT champion, damn it. And, you know, like, that would be just incredible to me. They did something somewhat similar with Eva Marie, you know, all the corporate gifts and everything.
Johnny Cage.
But yeah, like, it would be amazing to me that because he had this really easy path to the title, if it was just because, don't you remember? I'm the chosen one. Bum, heel turd. But yeah, I agree with you.
The return of the most epic theme music, out of time. So
yeah. Exactly. And then Bobby Roode's like, well, wait a minute. I'm the heel here. Bobby, all you have is a theme song. I'm actually talented. Ooh, burn. And then, you know,
the really sad part, though, is that, like, at this point, Drew McIntyre doesn't even interest me more than Bobby Roode. That's the sad thing.
Chavo! But regardless, great choice of high spot. I got nothing else to say about NXT tonight, do you?
Shut it down.
All right, we're shutting it down.
Maybe just condense the outro by just a little bit, specifically the Q&A pitch, because you really like to go along with that, brother.
I apologize, man. All right, I just like to drive it home. But yeah, you know what? Fuck it. You guys already know all you need to know about Q&A. If you don't know, it's on plenty of videos. I mean, I'm not trying to victim blame, but really. This has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my co-ordinator, Governor Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment, subscribe, and like the video. The more likes you leave, the more likely we are to be the top search result for NXT reviews on YouTube. And when you're the best at what you do, the top is the only place that you belong. All of our social media, everything related to TWitWoW and our brand, everything from our Teespring right down to our Twitter handles is in the description block. Please be sure to, kind of look it over, see what you like, follow us on Twitter, check out our Facebook page, leave a like, do whatever your heart desires. It's all right there. And yeah, I'm just going to very quickly plug the Patreon. You guys should already know about most of the pay tiers. We've got a review live reaction bundle. We've got just live reactions, which I know a lot of people prefer. And of course, my favorite thing, the TWitWoW Discord, essentially, a chat, speak to me and Ashton directly, as well as any other kind of Patreon donor that's part of the Discord about wrestling, music, video games, anything. It's a really open space for the most hardcore TWitWoW fans, alongside, myself and my co-ordinator commentary, to gather and just talk about all the things that we love. $3 a month, I think an insanely good deal to be around such magnificent existence. And the best part about that, and the one thing I always like to stress, that price point always accrues. So if you're a member of the Discord for, say, 10 months, that accumulates $30. You can cash it in for live reactions of a 3-hour show. To me, it's a win-win-win. So please check it out. If you haven't already, consider donating so you can be a part of the Discord in August, because, you know, that's going to be G1 Classic Finals and SummerSlam. So there's going to be a lot of hot discussion in the Discord rounding out the summer. You know you want to be a part of it, so please consider donating. And yeah, I'm not going to plug the Q&A because, you know, he's right. He's absolutely right. I talk about that for 50 minutes. Not this time. You know what to do. So what I am going to do is I'm just going to plug one more time what we got coming up tomorrow. 3 p.m. We go live with day 2 of the G1 Climax, the B block. Huge main event. Faction leader versus faction leader. Bullet Club leader Kenny Omega versus Suzuki Gun leader Minoru Suzuki. And I saw some of the backstage hype for that match. Minoru Suzuki, you know, kind of eyeing that U.S. championship of Kenny Omega. If he beats Omega, he gets a title shot and he gets 2 points for his block. But of course, Kenny is looking for a two-peat feat, baby. Looking to win G1 Climax back-to-back 2 years in a row. We'll see who comes out on top. And then later that night, as if G1 Climax goodness wasn't enough, we'll be coming back here, going live at 8 p.m., with Battleground preview and predictions. We'll be talking about every scintillating contest from the flag match between America, John Cena, versus a true patriot in Tong Po. And of course, the match everybody's looking forward to, the Punjabi prison match, the Maharaja versus Randy. I got discharged from the Marines, but I'm suddenly patriotic. Orton. We're going to be running down the whole card. Should be a fun time. You really should be there. If you're not, you're probably a mark. And if you don't believe me, ask your mom. So until then, guys, I guess just, yeah, tune in and peace out.